social worker and I am a member of the Chicago Democratic Socialists of America. I am here because I am angry. And I am angry because 2 of Chicago's safety net hospitals are illegally denying care to trans youth. Yay? Shame! Shame on Lurie Children's Hospital for illegally complying with Donald Trump's executive order that has no legal weight in order to deny health care to trans youth. And shame on Rush University Medical Center. Boo! Which yesterday it was announced that they are stopping hormonal replacement therapy for their trans youth patients. That ain't right. And it specifically violates the Bodily Autonomy Sanctuary City Ordinance and the Illinois Human Rights Act. Hospitals are supposed to deliver care and comfort and healing and be there at people's worst moments of their lives. Hospitals are not supposed to inflict pain and suffering and create the worst moments for people's lives, especially for one of the most vulnerable populations, which is trans and gender non-conforming youth. And that is why we are here. As Chicago DSA, we are proud to announce that yesterday in City Council, we were able to introduce a resolution condemning Lurie Hospital and Rush Hospital, which got advanced to the Health and Human Services Committee. Because we know that when we actually fight back, we can win. This winter, the University of Illinois Health System tried the same thing. They tried to sneakily deny care to trans youth. But thanks to shop stewards at UI Health, we learned about this and we were able to call them out, and they backed off. We know that when we fight, we win. So tonight, you are going to hear from directly impacted healthcare workers, trans people, community organizers, to show that what Rush University is doing is unpopular. And that Donald Trump does not have any mandate, and what he is doing is profoundly illegal and unethical. And what these hospitals are doing is a betrayal to every single trans family that is fleeing other states because they think that Illinois will provide them refuge. This is happening in a state with a Democratic supermajority and a progressive, air quotes, Democratic governor. If this is happening here, what is happening everywhere else? We have to organize and fight together. So I am very proud to introduce a comrade of mine, one of the current co-chairs of the Chicago Democratic Socialists of America, Lyra.
Check, check. Can you all hear me? All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out. If you have a really cool sign, I invite you to come on over and come behind and let the world see what you have over there. My name is Lyra. I use she, her pronouns, and I am co-chair of Chicago DSA, along with my co-chair, Sean. I first want to thank all the orgs that came out. I'm going to read here so I make sure I don't, miss some important ones. Thank you for endorsing for the Chicago Teachers Union, the Illinois INA, Howard Brown Healthcare Workers United, the Gay Liberation Network, PSL, Socialist Alternative, and many more IPOs and groups that came in to join us here in solidarity. Comrades, I wish we were gathered here under better circumstances. I stand before you today because Rush medical systems have caved to the pressure of the Trump administration and have halted accepting new minor patients for gender-affirming care. This comes off the heels of Lurie's Hospital, headed by CEO Tom Shanley, ceasing all gender-affirming care for minors. The consequences of these two hospital systems' actions means that children who need life-saving care and treatment will have less options and likely will have to wait longer for these life-saving treatments. There are now fewer places in Chicago that provide this life-saving care, burdening the rest of the system in Chicago and ultimately making it more difficult for all trans people to receive the care that we all desperately need. Now, how did this happen? We are in Chicago, Illinois, of all places, a sanctuary city. There are laws in place. There's a law in place that this is a place that has committed to protecting this kind of care. So how could this happen? Is there a law in place that bans this? The answer is no. The Trump administration signed an executive order attempting to ban gender-affirming care for those under 19, and almost immediately that order was put to halt. And even though this executive order is not in law, almost immediately after it was signed, Lurie Children's Hospital banned care for minors. Shame! Rush Medical Systems soon followed suit and is now also banning care. Let's be real, this is a ban, in fear that their Medicaid funding will be taken away. The reason why these are all both so dangerous, outside of directly harming some of the most vulnerable children in our society, is because fascism relies on complicity and compliance. The more we preemptively comply with the fascists, the more we try to conceal ourselves, the more we hide and stray away from confrontation, the more power we give them. And with that power, they become stronger and have an even greater ability to hurt us, our communities, and to bring harm amongst those we care about the most. Well, comrades, it is beyond time we say enough. It is time for us to mobilize. It is time for us to organize, and it is time for us to unionize. It is time to join community organizations like DSA or many of the groups that are out here today, because we cannot do this fight alone. The capitalist Democrats aren't going to do this for us. The Attorney General and Pritzker are letting this all unfold under their watch. No one is coming to save us, so it's time that we take our liberation into our own hands and fight back against this fascist regime. So what does that fighting back look like? That means using allies in the state and passing Alderwoman Fuentes' resolution, which we helped draft, condemning these damn hospitals. That also means doing what we're doing right now and organizing in the streets to apply direct pressure to these systems. I have to add that this fight, once again, we cannot wage on our own, but must be waged through collective struggle. We need to be an organization with our communities and our coworkers in order to properly resist fascism. Our power lies in working class people standing together and organizing for change. Our power does not come from lawyers. It does not come from negotiating with private healthcare systems. It comes from being militant and being mobilized and being organized. Comrades, the issues we are facing today are a direct result of the failures of capitalism. Fascism tries to redirect those failures towards an outgroup, rather than where they should be, which is at the feet of the ruling class. It is no surprise that life-saving gender-affirming care was limited by two systems that are privately owned and that are not unionized. This shows the absurdity of healthcare being treated as a commodity and a vessel for private owners to profit from. We must go beyond being on the defensive and demand not only that access to life-saving gender-affirming care is legally protected for anyone of all ages, but we must also demand that anyone of any age can receive this treatment. We must go further beyond that and demand that healthcare in general be treated as a human right here in Illinois and be free at the point of service for everyone. Another point I want to touch on is that us trans people are not the only people being scapegoated by this fascist regime. As we speak, our neighbors are being ripped away from their families, and shuttled off to modern-day concentration camps. They have gotten so inhumane that they wait till church services, till birthday parties, till graduations to tear apart these families and to leave children scared and confused. Whether it's denying children access to life-saving gender-affirming care, ripping apart migrant families, leaving children traumatized and orphaned, or slaughtering children in Gaza, this administration has launched an assault on our most vulnerable youth, and we need to stand side by side, shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with every group this administration tries to other. Yep. These isolation tactics will not succeed because we all deeply understand the sentiments that MLK once uttered, which is that an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. I'm almost done, y'all. Lastly, I will leave everyone with this. My family is from rural Mississippi, and my father, should he be alive today, would be 79 years old. He had to drink from coloreds-only drinking fountains when he grew up. And my aunts could not use the bathrooms of their choosing. They had to use colored women's facilities. Does this sound familiar? This struggle for civil rights has not gone away, and those here who are standing up for trans rights are the successors to that movement. And our cause today is just as just as that cause way back in the day. And so I want to leave you with this. Never let anyone who would disparage working class organizing and mobilizing tell you that they would have marched with Dr. King, because if that were true, they'd be right here today. In closing, folks, we have a lot of work to do, but we will emerge victorious. We will beat back fascism, guarantee healthcare for all, and that Chicago will become the beacon for trans joy and working class power here in the United States. That starts today by joining one of the many community orgs that had helped put on this rally, and that co-sponsored this event today. And so I want to end with a chant that Elena had graciously started with. When trans children are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When migrant children are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When Palestinian children are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lyra! Hospitals cannot run without the workers, the nurses, the social workers, the CNAs, the janitors, the technicians, the doctors. And as a social worker, all healthcare workers, we are trained to value ethics, that value human life, that value autonomy, but so many of these healthcare providers regularly violate those things. We don't face burnout, we face moral injury. When these institutions betray their oaths, when these institutions deny people health care, whether it's because they don't have enough money or because they are trans youth seeking care. So it's very important for us to uplift our amazing healthcare workers. I want to bring to the mic Melia, who is a nurse with the Illinois Nurses Association.
Thank you. And let's give another round of applause for Lyra here. My name is Melia Delaney. I'm here today as a fellow trans person, as a patient who receives gender-affirming care, but also as a registered professional nurse working here in the medical district, and a proud member of the Illinois Nurses Association. Now listen, I have fought so hard to get where I am today. The first time I ever came out to a nurse in a professional capacity, I was told, oh, that's just a fad. This was in a professional capacity during my EMS clinical. As a healthcare professional, I have seen providers, administrators, and unfortunately fellow nurses fail their trans patients time and time again. Due to ignorance, exhaustion, fear, or bigotry, clouding the values behind what we do. I'm here in this stage tonight because I believe as healthcare professionals, we can do better. I am here today because of the shoulders that I stand on. Because the legacy of trans liberators and gender-affirming care, the work of doctors like Magnus Hirschfeld. Over 100 years ago, he treated people who could not find solace in the bodies they were born with. And he gave us the tools, 100 years ago and more, to build meaningful lives with the bodies reflecting our truth. Now again and again, political forces have tried to stamp out our joy. to exploit ignorance against us, to eradicate us, because they think we're weak. And every time, out of fear or tacit agreement, people have capitulated like they capitulate today. The Nazis shut down Hirschfeld's Institute in 1933, but they could never stamp the joy of experiencing a gender outside the one we were assigned at birth. When you look around, you will see the kind of people that joy produces. Strong, beautiful people who are willing to fight for what they believe in. People who have fought as young people, as adults, finding themselves later in life, as children, so full of hope that one day this world might be a kinder place. As a healthcare professional, I know our industry's role as an accomplice to some of the darkest chapters in modern history. I also know the power we have to be so much more. Hirschfeld was a doctor who stood up for those who no one else would protect. Today, he and others like him throughout history, they are remembered as the heroes that they were. And of course, we all know how the Nazis and their collaborators were remembered. Once again, the politics of this era ask us all, will we turn the backs on the powerless, on those with the least voice, on our own children? So, as I draw to a close, I want to ask the healthcare providers and the administrators here at Lurie and Rush, how will history remember you? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Melia. There is a very famous poem by Niemöller that goes through what happened in Germany in the 30s. And we have to remember that even if we personally aren't the people being targeted, the same people are not going to care. They are going to pick everybody off one by one, because the people that are inflaming anti-Semitism and inflaming Nazism are the same people that have been spending years fomenting panic against trans youth. So thank you. Now I want to bring Alethea from the Party of Socialism and Liberation. Give it up for Alethea.
They say get back, we say fight back. Get back, fight back. Get back, fight back. Get back. Fight back. That's right, we're going to keep fighting back as the Trump administration wages war on the working class. They've passed their big, beautiful bill eviscerating Medicaid and SNAP and so many other resources for the working class. And at the same time, they tell us lie after lie that trans people or immigrants are our enemy, that trans people and immigrants are the reasons our society is the way it is. But the reasons for the problems of this country are the billionaires themselves. We witnessed a flood of attacks on the trans community, from executive orders banning gender-affirming care, to Supreme Court decisions ruling in favor of bans on gender-affirming care for minors in Tennessee, to states like Iowa and Ohio completely rolling back all trans rights or banning trans women from using public restrooms. Over the past 7 months, they've targeted trans people and immigrants as scapegoats, blaming us for problems caused by CEOs and politicians. They want us to see one another as enemies so that we don't realize that the real enemy is them. They want us distracted and divided because when we're fighting each other, we're not fighting them. Bigoted lawmakers attack the rights of transgender people in the name of protecting children. But life-saving medical care isn't harming children. The only threat to the working class and to this country is the billionaire class. And as the Trump administration threatens hospitals and medical institutions with funding cuts if they refuse to ban gender-affirming care, we have to continue to show out like we do today. We have to continue to take to the streets to let the right wing know that we refuse to let them take our rights away. We have to show them that we will fight tooth and nail to defend our rights and to build an entirely new society. If we want to protect gender-affirming care, if we want to defend trans rights, then we have to get organized. And the only way we win is by building a united fight-back movement for trans liberation, for immigrant rights, for Black liberation, and for the entire working class. So will we fight? Yeah! Let's do that a little louder. Will we fight? Yeah! Hell yes, we will fight, because we know the only way that we will win is when the people united are fighting together. The people united will never be defeated. I'm messing up the slogan. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. Thank you.
Thank you, Alethea. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. Thank you. I want to bring up our next speaker, Nova from Socialist Alternative.
Hello. Hi there. Hi, my name's Nova. I'm a member of Socialist Alternative, and I am also a member of the trans community. I'm joining you out here today, not just because I'm trans, but because I am a Marxist. This mic is like not a great height for me. I'm so sorry. Okay. I, like many of you, can see the red threads connecting the attacks on trans people to the attacks on immigrants to the attacks on our living standards. And all of these strings are being pulled to strangle us, are held by the puppet masters of the capitalist system. Trump is just the symptom, and capitalism is the overarching disease. Rush Medical Center is only the most recent of the hospitals across the country bending the knee to Trump's attacks on trans people, specifically trans youth, joining Chicagoland hospitals like Lurie and UI Health, who scrapped their gender-affirming care services for minors earlier this year. And on July 22nd, the largest gender-affirming care center for trans youth in the United States, located in Los Angeles, will also be closing its doors. The right wing loves to talk about the harm that gender-affirming care for minors supposedly perpetuates. But the truth is that revoking access to gender-affirming care is the most harmful thing. A Stanford medical study of over 27,000 trans adults showed access to gender-affirming care reduces the odds of severe psychological distress by over 200% for those who began hormones in early adolescence. Odds of previous year suicidal ideation were 135% lower in trans people who began hormones in early adolescence. In addition, participants who began hormones in early or late adolescence had lower odds of past month binge drinking and a lifetime of illicit drug use than those who began hormones in adulthood. When trans people are denied this care, the effects are devastating. The Trevor Project's 2022 report of 34,000 trans and non-binary youth found that 2/3 reported experiencing symptoms of depression, more than half considered suicide, and nearly 1 in 5 transgender and non-binary youth attempted suicide. Access to gender-affirming care was decisive for the state of their and our mental health. The Hippocratic Oath, an oath of ethics historically taken by physicians, has physicians pled to abstain from all intentional wrongdoing and harm. So if data proves that revoking access to gender-affirming care does perpetuate harm, why not provide it? This is because hospitals, like every organization in the world under capitalism, are operated in the interests of the people they serve. They operate on the basis of profit. Even so-called nonprofit hospitals like Rush, which make up nearly half of all the hospitals in the US, are run like businesses. They get massive tax breaks from the IRS to supposedly invest in community benefit and provide cheaper or free services to poorer patients. However, nonprofits operate on a capitalist business model, They pay their CEOs millions and spend massive budgets on shiny new facilities, all while hiring consulted firms to devise ways of making more money off of patients, including schemes to make poor patients pay what they legally shouldn't have to. The CEO of Rush takes home $3 million a year, over 30 times the amount the average nurse is paid. It isn't just right-wing hate. The attacks on trans people and immigrants are a feature, not a bug, of capitalism. In the 60s, it was black people. In the 80s, it was gay people. And now it's trans people and immigrants. The goal is to pit different sections of the working class against each other so that we won't turn on the system itself. Because if the Republican in Oklahoma begins to realize, hey, he's got a lot more in common with me and you, making poverty wages, unable to have access to medical treatment, not having enough money to put gas in his car, and exhausted all of the time. If he realizes we're much more alike than Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or any of the billionaires, the ruling class is going to have a problem on its hands. Because if we, the people who run the world, organize in our interests and withhold labor until we win, we shake the very foundation of the capitalist system. And so we have to look to the labor movement now to fight back against these attacks on our trans siblings. For one, we need to call on rank and file of the healthcare unions like NNU, like INA that is here today, and more to stand up in solidarity with transgender patients of all ages. We need strikes by nurses, doctors, and other medical center staff to show that the people on the front lines of healthcare, not the CEOs and not the shareholders, understand the life-saving benefits of gender-affirming care and are willing to withhold their labor to ensure its return. Two, we need to keep this movement going. A good start would be to organize an action conference that brings together trans people, our loved ones, community organizations, immigrant rights organizations, socialists and socialist organizations, and union members for political discussion and tactical discussion on the state of the situation and the determination of demands and next steps. Rush is not the last hospital to rip away gender-affirming care from the people who most desperately need it. But if we get organized, we can make it one of the last. We need a multiracial, multi-gender mass movement for trans rights, immigrant rights, and ultimately for a socialist transformation of society. Because only under socialism will we be free to live lives that we choose, as who we choose, unrestricted by poverty, debt, illness, or gender dysphoria. I hope you'll join me in the fight. Solidarity, everybody.
We are unstoppable. A better world is possible.
We are unstoppable. A better world is possible.
This movement is not new. This movement for trans rights, for queer rights, for workers' rights has been a very long movement, and I am incredibly honored to bring someone who has been in the streets when it was legal for CPD to beat up queer and trans people. They still do it, but at least it's illegal. Someone who has been out here supporting social justice movements, who is often the loudspeaker, quite literally, of the movement. Let's bring up Andy from Gay Liberation Network.
Thank you so much. You know, I came to this rally fearing something that would happen that has happened at many other rallies where we only talk about one group of people, trans people, that are under attack. And I am gratified that the Chicago Democratic Socialists of America have not repeated that mistake, but instead said that when anyone is under attack, we must fight back. Be they Palestinians, be they undocumented people, be they working class people of any description. Because the reality is LGBTQ people, we are a minority in society. And I can remember when we were fighting to win equal marriage rights in the early part of this century, our favorability rating for equal marriage rights was in the low single digits. We could not have gotten equal marriage rights, which, by the way, are under attack again. We could not have won that right without reaching out to other groups, without offering solidarity to other groups. And that's precisely what we're doing here today. And that is precisely what was the true legacy of Stonewall. Because immediately after Stonewall, those activists learned that they could not request solidarity for their struggles without offering solidarity to the others. So they were out in the streets for the Black Panthers. They were out in the streets against the U.S. war on Vietnam. They were out in the streets burgeoning the new women's movement, the revived women's movement, which gave us Roe v. Wade. Another lesson from that early movement, which is ancient history at best for many of you, is that we need to depend on our own struggles, our own people to win. The hidden history of winning equal marriage rights in Illinois here is not that the Republicans were our main enemies. Our main enemy was none other than Mike Madigan, the most powerful Democratic politician in the state. He was our number one enemy. On a national level, our number one enemy really wasn't the clownish Republicans. It was none other than gay Congressman Barney Frank. We won equal marriage rights. And by the way, the strength of the post-Stonewall Rebellion movement was that LGBTQ people decided that we had to free ourselves. And that was a lesson that was knocked into our heads. I was 8 years old at the time, so this is history here, okay, even for me. It was, people had that lesson knocked in their heads several blocks to the east here during the Chicago Democratic Convention, when they realized that not only the evil Republicans, Tricky Dick Nixon, were their enemies, but the Chicago Democratic machine, the National Democratic Party, which would rather lose an election than actually fight against the war and give civil rights to all people. They weren't in favor of that. And we see an analogy today, because the Democratic Party at the national level would rather lose to Donald Trump than stand up against genocide in Palestine. And that should teach us another lesson, which is this. If you think the Democratic Party at the national level is on your side, you're fooling yourself, because they will sell you down the river in a second. If they will tolerate genocide against any group of people, no matter what struggle you are involved in, they will do the same to you if they think that's what they have to do to preserve their power and their wealth. So the Palestinians have taught us a very important lesson. Only we can free ourselves, and solidarity is the way we're going to do it. Thank you again, Chicago DSA, for organizing this today, bringing us all together. It's very important. Just one last thing here. We were asked to give certain demands that we would suggest. We need to call on our Democratic Party Governor Pritzker to restore all Medicaid funding for trans care and for people of whatever documentation status, whether you're an immigrant, whether you're a refugee. It's far more important for funding health care for everyone who needs it than fixing goddamn potholes and other corporate giveaways of whatever description that I'm sure Elena and you know here can come up with. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, thank you, Andy. We have socialists in office, and we've got one who is able to speak with us very briefly. We are incredibly honored to have DSA member and DSA endorsed 25th Ward Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez. Byron, come up. Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you, Lena. When gender affirming care is under attack, what do we do? When trans rights are under attack, what do we do? Thank you very much for being here, and I think mine wouldn't be too long because I will say everything that Andy said, and I will second it. But I would like to add, as an elected official and representative of the Socialist Caucus in City Council, I want to first thank the movement of socialists that do not capitulate to fascism and do not capitulate to the demands of the billionaire class that are trying to pitch, as always, working class people against each other. I want to thank Alderperson Rosana Rodriguez Sanchez and Jesse Fuentes for introducing the resolution to restore gender affirming care in the city of Illinois, and demand that the state of Illinois also follow suit, because access to care is a human right. And our trans community is going to get our solidarity everywhere, anytime, because when they go for after any of us, it's an attack on all of us, and that's how we got to treat it. Banning care is illegal, and when institutions capitulate to fascists, we got to hold the line, because if they're doing this here in Chicago, we got to just wonder what's happening in other parts of our country. Now we know, and no matter how much they try to hide the reality of masked men coming and kidnapping people and separating families and putting in concentration camps, no matter how much they try to hide the genocide in Gaza, we see with solidarity that we care. Because as Rosa Luxemburg said, is barbarism or socialism? And make no mistake, that's what we are today. So I tell you today that fascism must be defeated. And it will be defeated with solidarity, with international solidarity. And it's not going to be done by the one-party system. The foxes and the wolves, those are the options. And Malcolm X told us a long time ago, that is the ballot of the ballot. And we've seen the ballot for so long, so we still believe on the ballot. But we do not believe on the ballot that those who come and tell us one thing, that they tell us on TikTok clips that they care about immigrant communities, but the next day they go and they cut access to medical care to undocumented seniors. That's not how we balance budgets. Shame on that. And that is the Democratic governor. We are also not silent when they come and they try to cut access to care to our trans youth, and they denied gender affirming care to our community, and they're silent on that. Shame on that. And we said just as loud and just as often, because we believe in solidarity. And I'll tell you today that we must hold the line here in Chicago, because Chicago has led the way, and our trans community has led the way. With sweat, tears, and blood, it has paved the way. And I'm proud to stand with you, because you also have stood with us when our immigrant community has been under attack. And today is about solidarity, building a wide coalition with socialists. We do not capitulate to fascists, because we know how to defeat them. We know how to defeat them. It is to expose the lies of those who want to hold files of pedophiles. Those are those who are telling us about freedom. What freedom are you talking about? What freedom? Is that the freedom that we see in Gaza of apartheid? Is that the freedom that we see in our own communities? We continue to see police brutality? No, that is not the freedom that we talk about it. We talk about the real freedom, equality, and justice that this community and the trans community has shown us with integrity and bravery. It is the real freedom of demanding justice and equity when it's time. And the time is now. The time is now, and we will not capitulate. So we'll be here time after time to tell the Democrats and Republicans alike, we will not capitulate. We will not be silent. And we will here on the front lines. Because again, it's socialism and barbarism. And barbarism will not take the lives and identity of more trans youth. No more. We stand with all of us, working class community, against the billionaires, patriarchy, and the billionaire class. No more. The emperor has no clothes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez. That is the socialist difference in elected office. We are nearing the end of our program. Thank you all so much. much for coming out and showing support for trans youth, for showing support for healthcare workers, for showing support for the entire working class, and being a united front against austerity and social murder. I want to bring up a great Chicago DSA comrade, Imogen, to help close us out.
Okay. Today we're standing in front of Rush denouncing their decision to stop accepting new minor patients seeking gender-affirming care. This is not the first hospital to cave to bigoted political pressure, and it is unlikely to be the last. Today's action is just a point on a line in our continuing fight to protect trans healthcare, and we need you along the rest of it. We need your voice. Yesterday, Alder Jesse Fuentes introduced a resolution to Chicago City Council condemning the actions of Lurie and Rush dropping care, noting that these decisions are antithetical to Chicago's status as a sanctuary city and are a violation of Illinois and Chicago's human rights laws. Call your Alder, voice your support for this resolution, for our city and electeds taking action to protect our community. We need your pen. We need you to join us as we continue to pressure Lurie Children's Hospital to restore care through an active letter writing campaign, with more actual actions continuously being planned. We need your ears. We need you to know what's going on and how to be involved. DSA is holding a virtual town hall this Monday at 7 to share what's happening, how to organize, and how to defend our communities. Join DSA's or any other group here's email list to know what actions are happening and how to help fight. Because we need your presence. There is nothing I can do alone. There's nothing you can do alone. This is a fight we must take on together as a community in solidarity, as a whole unified working class. There are so many people in Chicago doing the work to protect trans rights and healthcare access for trans kids. Please join DSA, join Socialist Alternative, join PSL, join GLN, your local IPO, join anyone doing the work to protect our communities. We cannot resist the deluge of attacks on our rights alone, but we can together. Your voice, your pen, your ears, and your presence. Today was a day of action along a continuous line, but today is not a stopping point. We need the next action to be tomorrow and the day after and the day after until our days are spent or we have won. To do otherwise is to allow our rights to evaporate until they are gone. We will not stop here.
Thank you, Imogen. Again, if you are a Chicago DSA comrade with a clipboard, please hold it up. Please go find someone with a clipboard. You can scan the QR code to sign our letter to Lurie CEO Tom Shanley. You can join DSA. You can sign up to get updates. Please do not leave without connecting with a comrade with a clipboard. I am going to bring up the other Chicago DSA co-chair, Sean, to help close us out with a chant.
Thanks, Elena. And thank you everyone who came out tonight. It is a cold July day. There are clouds overhead. You could be anywhere else, but you're here right now standing up for your community, standing up for trans youth. Who here is either an employee at Rush, a student at Rush, who has a family member who's a patient at Rush, or is a patient yourself at Rush? I'm going to give you all a little secret. You have power. There are a lot of people out there who want to tell you that you don't have power, that you don't matter. That's bullshit. We as working class people have extraordinary power when we are organized and when we fight. So please get organized. You have power. You're not a participant. You are not an observer. You are a participant in struggle if you choose to be so. With that, I want to close with a chant for all of us today. We're going to do it 2 times. It's our call and response chant. It comes from our dear socialist sister, Asada, who just had her birthday yesterday. It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love each other and support each other.
We must love each other and support each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Now we're going to do it one more time, but I want to ask you something. I want you to scream as loud as you can. because we're in a big open field and because it feels good. And it's important to feel good sometimes and feel our power together. It is our duty to fight for our freedom!
It is our duty to fight for our freedom!
It is our duty to win!
It is our duty to win!
We must love each other and support each other!
We must love each other and support each other!
We have nothing to lose but our chains!
We have nothing to lose but our chains!
Thank you, everyone. Get home safe.